Hey folks, it's Bob here at Sorrento Hill. I'm always setting this down somewhere far away. Uh, it's a nice hot day. I've been working on cordwood on that kitchen wall, and I've got it up to the point now. It's just above. It's above the kitchen, the base cabinets, but below where the top cabinets are going to be. So what I decided to do is, since that's an outside wall and it gets some sun, um, I'm making some more bottle logs. I've got, let's see, I think I've got 3 of them already made, 3 or 4. Um, and so I've got a few more bottles. I got one more blue bottle, and I've got some green olive oil bottles. Oh, won't use that one. It's not empty yet. That I'm going to use and make me some, maybe some bottle logs out of these. I'll peel some of the label off, maybe. But the reason why I'm putting these in the wall, you might say, well, why would you put these in the wall behind your between the cabinets? Because isn't that where your backsplash is going to be? Well, I decided, and I know this is going to really shock you guys. I decided that I'm going to do something different on my backsplash. Instead of putting the regular metal or tile that everyone uses, since I got this beautiful cordwood, and I hate the idea of hiding more of it than I absolutely have to, what I'm going to do in that area between the cabinets, instead of putting metal or tile or some kind of wood or something like that, what I'm going to do is I've got some cypress, which is water, pretty much rot resistant, just in case it gets water up on the counter. I don't have to worry about it soaking up water and rotting on me. But I'll make a framework attached to the cordwood, and then you can buy polycarbonate sheeting and acrylic sheeting. I'll probably use the polycarbonate because I believe my research is right that it's more scratch resistant than the acrylic. Anyways, I'll build a framework, kind of cut some little grooves in it, in the framework, so the sheets of acrylic will fit into that, and then I'll just screw in a couple retainer strips to hold it in, and that way, if one of them gets scratched, if one of them gets broken, all I got to do is undo the screws, pull those little retainer strips of wood off, pull that sheet of polycarbonate out, and put a new one in. And I thought that way I can see the cordwood wall behind there. I've got a backsplash that you can wipe down, and I can also put some bottle logs in. Now, I thought I'd show you. Hopefully, we'll see if this shows up. I've got a little flashlight here that I can kind of put behind it. Yeah. And you can see how that'll glow as the sun comes in. So you'll see that. And then I'll do the same thing when I get one of these green ones. The green is a lot darker than a regular green wine bottle. I don't have any more green wine bottles, but I've got some friends and relatives out there who I can probably get plenty of green wine bottles from. I've got a couple clear ones. I got a couple blue ones. And then I'm going to use these just regular olive oil bottles. And, you know, some people worry about, well, you have to get the label off. You have to soak the label off. Well, the reason why I'm not worried about taking it off is because you don't get light. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about that. You don't get light coming through the sides of the bottle anyway. All the light comes through the end from your jar here. So if it's got a label on it, like this one's a Classico tomato sauce jar, and these jars are just a really nice size for this. This one's a sauerkraut jar. It'll work even better for this one. You see, the sizes are a little bit closer. Here's a Vlasic kosher dills jar, and I think this one will actually work even better. And of course, everything around here's got sawdust on it. Nothing the air gun won't take away. But you see that? And then I just wrap the metal around it, tape it down, and it turns it into a log. And I'm hoping here, let me move some stuff out of the way. You know, I'm real good about landlocking myself. There you go. Now, for doing the wine bottles, and then if I use I think this basically a pint jar. How many ounces is this? This is 24 ounce. This is a pint and a half. This is a pint jar. You can also get quart jars, which are a little bigger. And they work pretty well. Those jars work pretty well. And it's not a big deal if they're not the same size. It's just metal flashing. Tape it in place. You just need it to hold together until you get it in the wall. Once you've got that in there with the mortar all the way around it, it's not going to move around, and you don't have to worry about. The only reason why I keep this sealed is that way I don't have to worry about insulation stripping in there. For the wine bottles, I use I cut a strip of the flashing that's 12 inches long. For some of the bigger ones, like these bottles, I have to use one that's about 16 inches. And I've got 3 of those to use, so I went ahead and pre-cut them. And so I'll just show you real quick how I make a bottle log. It's not really very hard, which is probably why I can do it. I like to clean them off some. These were cleaned at one time. Pardon that. Oh, that's right. I was going to use this one. These were cleaned at one time, but they've been sitting out here, and I got so much sawdust flying around. And I'll go ahead and cut me about 3 pieces of tape just to secure it, and then I'll cut a piece of tape to go around it. I was using some gray tape. Doesn't really matter. I was just using some gray duct tape, and I used all that up, and I got this roll of black Gorilla Tape around, and it'll really hold well. And for cutting the flashing, again, this is 12-inch wide roofing flashing. I bought a sheet of it. I think it was 50 feet. 50 feet of flashing, I think it was about $30. And 50 feet of flashing, if I'm using wine bottles, will make 50 bottle logs. If I'm using these bigger ones like this, it won't make as many because this takes a little bit more material. But that's all it is, just aluminum flashing. Buy it in rolls. I get this at McNard's. And set that down in place. And again, you need to be careful with this stuff because it is sharp. And if you don't hold your hands right, you hit it wrong, it will cut you. Especially, it seems like that edge where I cut it with the tin snips is the worst. But so be careful. And now, I don't know if you can see or not, this bottle doesn't fit all the way. It's shorter. It doesn't fit inside. The wine bottles will actually, the neck of it will fit down inside. That's not really a problem. You just roll it. And I've got me a little fixture here that is 16 inches long, which is the length that my logs need to be. And I just roll it and hold it in place the best that I can. Now put it in the fixture. Make sure that the bottles touch both ends. And then I bring it with the seam up. And then just put a piece of tape there. Just make sure you don't get it real close to the edge, because right out to the edge here is going to be covered in mortar. So you'll never see the tape that you're putting on here. Again, I'll put 3 pieces. And these at the end just holds the ends together and secures it to the bottle. And then I'll take a couple longer pieces and wrap all the way around up here, just to make sure I've got it good and sealed. Let And this is some stout tape. The Gorilla Tape does not mess around. And then I'll start right here. Just go around and round you go. And secure the tape to it. That seals the end. I don't have to worry about insulation, or I don't have to worry about moisture from the mortar that goes around it getting into the bottle, getting in there and clouding it up. And like I said, I'll go on Facebook tonight, and I'll say, hey fam, I could really use some more green wine bottles. And I can guarantee you that by morning, I'll have come up with probably a couple dozen wine bottles. People want to get rid of the things. They just don't know what to do with them. And this seems like a novel thing to do with them. So I have no trouble getting bottles from people. All right. That's it. A 16-inch. There it goes in my gauge. 16-inch long bottle log. It's the same length as my wood logs. And again, wow, that transmits pretty good. You see, I just holding a flashlight up to it. You can see the light that comes out through the end. This one's square. I got a couple round ones, and in the other wine bottles, the green wine bottles are a lot lighter than in color than this. You get even more light through. Yeah, I like that. And just one of the fun things you can do with cordwood. And but I do notice that these aren't quite empty and pressurized, so I'll have to rinse these out, take them into the sink and use some hot soapy water and rinse these out, and probably use some compressed air to dry them, because they've got some olive oil in them still, and I don't think that would be good inside the wall. But you can see, you know, if I shine the light through this, you can see the way it glows. And the light that you'll get, it really accent the wall pretty nicely. And what more fitting to go in a kitchen wall than olive jars. And again, I'll get some more. And I've got one of my aunts gave me a Crown Royal bottle. So I'm going to have to see if I can figure out something like that. I've got some half-gallon mason jars. I may team that up. And I've got this interesting little vase here. It's clear, but I may use it too. So all kinds of things you can use. I've also got this little jar here. It's got a cardinal on it. And I think, well, how can I use that? Well, what I'll do, this will be kind of a challenge. Maybe what I can do is take one of these smaller jars and put back behind it and just make me a log, and just so that the cardinal stands out. I don't know how I use that one. One of my aunts thought it was cute. I may use it for something else. That may make a neat little candle holder or something like that. So, at any rate, all right. Well, I got to go rinse these out, and I've also got to. I'm at the level also where I've got an electrical outlet that I got to put in the wall. I've got one that I attached to the side of the window box next to the sink, and then I've got one that goes about 3 feet away from that, but it'll have to go in the wall. So I need to split a log so I can get me a half or quarter log that I can notch to put that box in, and then I'll be ready to start putting more cordwood in that kitchen wall. I'm about 4 foot off the ground, and I got 3 more feet to go till I get to the bottom of my beam, um, my cross beam that my top windows rest on, and then of course that piece across the top of it. So getting there, and it's kind of an interesting week. You have to kind of combine working on this stuff with life sometimes. Um, my wife's birthday was yesterday, and mine is next week. We hit the big 6-5. Well, she did. I will, I hope, if I make it for 5 more days. So anyways, got birthdays. Friday, my wife and I are taking a trip in the kayak down Current River, taking a float trip, and we'll probably do 8 miles for our 60th birthdays. We celebrated with a 16-mile canoe trip, but I think for our 65th, we'll satisfy ourselves with one of the 8-mile trips. Takes about 3 hours. Depending upon how much paddling you do, 3 to 4 hours, and how many times you stop and cool off. It's going to be hot. It's supposed to be up around 96 or 98 degrees on Friday, so we may be stopping fairly often to go get a dip in that nice cool water. But I'll be taking my phone along, so I'll take some pictures and maybe include some video of that. One of the stops we'll make is a place called Pull Tight Spring. It's pretty neat, so we'll have to take some video and share some of that with you folks that aren't fortunate enough to live here in the Ozarks near the Ozark National Scenic Waterway. One of our favorite places to go, and it's got a neat backstory behind it. But that's how we're going to celebrate our birthdays. And then Saturday, our granddaughter and her fiance invited us to go with them and our 4 great grandsons. Yes, that's right, we have great grandsons. I had someone tell me, "You're not old enough to have great grandkids." I said, "You're right, but I do." But go with them to a place called the Fugitive Beach up near Rolla, Missouri, and I guess it's an old abandoned rock quarry. It's not a real deep one. It's got a cliff around it. They got some places to jump, and they got a sandy beach, and to make it look like the ocean or whatever, they actually use some blue pool dye in the water. Go figure. But they like going there every year, and last Sunday they invited us to go along with them. So I thought, we should do that because we don't get those invites often enough. So we'll be doing that. So busy, and then next Monday I'll be going out cutting trees again. I got my saw back from the shop, and I was really disappointed because I'd had this saw for a little over 2 years, and it'd been great. And I was running it, and it ran out of gas, which I always run it till it just dies on me because it's running out of gas. Sometimes I'll stop before it totally dies because you go to pull the trigger and it kind of stumbles, and it's like, okay, I'm about out of gas. So I stop it and top it off. And sometimes I'll just run until it just dies. And always before, I fill it with gas, and every time I gas, I go ahead and put oil in it. It only needs oil about every second time, but I go ahead and top it off because the one time that I think, oh, I did that last time, I wouldn't have. And if you ever run your chain dry while you're cutting, I haven't done that so far, knock on wood. But from what I understand, if you run one dry, you'll heat it up so bad that it'll lose its temper, and it'll just ruin the chain. So I go ahead, put gas in it, put oil in it, and at least check the level and put some oil in it. That way I don't have a chance of running it dry. Well, at any rate, I went to start it, and usually from hot like that, it just takes one pull and boom, it fires right off. Well, nothing. And I made sure my stop switch wasn't on. Sure enough, it was set to run, no problem. So I pulled again, and it acted like it wanted to hit. It kind of started to hit, but didn't. So I pulled it again and again. Well, after about 5 or 6 times, it floods. And after that, it wasn't going to start for anything. Oh, great. Come home, dried it out, checked this plug. The plug was kind of dark, so I thought, well, I'll go ahead and put a new plug in it. Still wouldn't start. Checked it, had spark, but it just seemed to me like it wasn't sparking. The spark wasn't regular. You know what I mean? It didn't seem right. Well, used some compressed air, dried it out, and didn't work. So I took it to the saw shop. He says, "Oh, it's just bad flooded. I'll take care of it. We'll get you started." So, you know, he uh, he did the exact same thing I did. He pulled the plug out and he pulled it. Yeah, there's spark. And then went in the back and he took his little compressed air, hooked it up to his air compressor with his little blow gun, like I got here, and just sprayed a little air in there while he was working the cord until the air come blowing out through the muffler. So he's blowing out through the exhaust port. Okay, she's good and dry now. She'll start. So I put the plug in, and he pulled and pulled and pulled and pulled. It didn't start. It flooded. So he did it again, did the same thing. He said, "I don't know. You're going to have to leave it." About a week and a half later, he called me and they said, "Hey, I've got your saw ready." So I go to pick it up, and I'm figuring probably $7,500, $150 bill. I didn't know. And so I got there. I asked him. I said, "So what was wrong with it?" And he said, and he had this part on the counter, and he picked it up. He said, "Your coil was bad." I said, "What?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "All the years I've been running this saw shop," he said, "this is the third one that I've seen go bad." I said, "Well, what's the damages?" He said, $30. $30? How can it be only $30? He said, "Well," he said, I'm warranting the part and labor for replacing the part through Husqvarna. I've had the saw for 2.5 years. How can that be under warranty?" He said, "Hey, I'm a Husqvarna dealer. You bought it from me. We stand behind it." He said, and so the coil is warranted through Husqvarna, so no charge on that. I just charge you for a service on it. He said I replaced the plug and just went through, cleaned it up, made sure everything that was tight, supposed to be tight, it is. He said $30. And I brought that thing home and boom, second pull with the choke on, it tried to light, turn the choke off, pull it a couple times. Boy, she started right off. And he's really good at tweaking the carb, and he got that thing to where it just it idles real nice. And boy, you bump the trigger and it just jumps to life. So I was excited about that. Only $30. I got my saw back, so I'll be going out Monday and cutting some more trees, and looking forward to getting that kiln filled back up, because in the next couple of days here I'm going to be pretty much emptying it. So, but yeah, I'm about 3 feet of vertical height from having that wall up to the top. Of course, and then I'll have to go across the top of the window on the outside, and then I have to go all the way up 12.5 feet on the side with cordwood all the way up to the top of the window. So that'll be fun. But getting there. And again, I just thought I'd share with you about making bottle logs. So if you ever do cordwood, you decide to do cordwood and you think about bottle logs, you can see how easy it is to make. Just make yourself a little gauge, 16 inches long, some aluminum flashing and bottles. Again, some people worry about cutting the top off the wine bottle. I haven't done that with any of mine, and they look just fine. It's a whole lot easier than cutting them. Stick the neck down in the glass jar. They don't all have to be the same size. In fact, I got one here. This is a clear wine bottle, and then it's got a bigger jar at the bottom of it. But that's no problem, because a lot of your wood logs are not the same size one end to the other. So what I'll do is I'll coordinate this with one where the end of a log's a little bit smaller on the outer side than it is on the inside, and that'll kind of make up the difference and keep my mortar joints a little more even. So not a big deal. That's all there is to that. All right, I got to clean these out. Got to get me a log and shape it, All right, thanks for stopping by. Again, this is Bob out at Serenity Hill. Like and subscribe. We appreciate you stopping by and taking the time to watch the videos. Thank you for your support. And don't be afraid to get out there and do something you've never done before, like this. You can find somebody that can show you how to do it. And sometimes you can just put your imagination to work and figure it out yourself. But get out there and do something you've never done before. You might just like it. Talk to you later. Bye.